Greetings, fellow travelers, and welcome to the 75th level of the RPG Cave. I am your host for this episode, level 99 Human Archmage, Garret Bland. And Ryan's not here today, unfortunately. He couldn't join us, but with me, we have a total crossover with the other host around the Carpool Gaming from PlayStation Drive. We got Matt over here, Burnout Matt.
What's up, dude? How you doing?
What are you? What are you? A level 99? What are you? A warrior? You're a paladin?
I
a mage?
feel like Ryan made me possibly a barbarian. I don't like that though. So Garret, I'm going to give you free reign to give me a new class here.
Ooh,
I believe in you.
You're a goblin bard. How about that?
All right, I'm in.
Yo.
I had to randomize it. All right, and
Perfect.
from the Nintendo Drive over here, we got Lockleth over here. You can be, what do you want to be? A level 99 what? You want to be a healer?
Warlock.
A warlock. I love
Sick.
it. And we got Seth over here from the Nintendo Drive as well. How you doing, man?
Hey, buddy. Good to see everybody. This is awesome, man. We got a big old crossover. This is sick.
A big crossover. All right, so we're going to be talking about really in depth with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But before we get into that, we're going to clear those pesky mobs. And Ryan has this whole spiel, guys. It's like 3 minutes long, but I'm going to be very succinct, very quick about it. If you like what we do, just support the show over at youtube.com/carpoolgaming and podcast and feed of choice. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can rate us 5 stars on the Apple Podcasts and the Google Plays and Spotify's. And if you want to get early access to the show and exclusive content, you can go over to patreon.com/carpoolgaming. We have a number of tiers, and I think he compares it to a slot machine or a vending machine or whatever, and you put in money and out comes content. That's what he does. And
There you go.
And it's actually pretty good. And then we have a merch store as well, so go check it out over there.
Yes.
And that's pretty much it. So as I said in the beginning, we're going to be talking about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We've played a good portion of the game at least. And I just want to know what everyone's impressions are. I've been talking about it on Nintendo Shack for quite a while now. And oh my goodness, Matt and Lockleth just pulled out the Pikachus sleeping on the shoulder. I love it so much.
Prepared.
That's so specific.
So-
like you guys both specifically have the sleeping Pikachu thing,
Well, his is sleeping. Mine's awake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mine is
legit
very
sleeping.
sleeping.
but it's still
I
that
know,
like
right?
flat
It's so
style.
Hold on,
Hey.
very quickly before we get into it, I think because
Sure.
this is the first time that the 4 of us have been together, I feel like the new kids have taken over. Carpool gaming. Ryan and Sean, I feel like we just
They're
kind of
away now.
they're
Old
gone now.
blood.
Well, we can put them in these Pikachus. Do we feel like sleepy Pikachu is more a Ryan or a Sean?
That's more
Oh.
Ryan, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll have
Yeah.
Ryan on my shoulder. Lockleth can have
Yeah.
Sean on hers. Yeah, I know.
Not the
I know.
face.
I
The
love
second you said that. She said, oh
To
no.
the face, yeah. Of
I'm
course.
excited, guys. I'm stoked to do this with all together.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. We're breaking the barriers over here. No more Ryan Sean. We're gonna be going crazy in this review. So I just want to start out, everyone in the room. Where is everybody at in the game? Have they beaten the game? And that's I first want to lay down the foundation before we get into any kind of spoiler territory or anything like that. Matt, why don't you go first? Where are you at in the game?
Sure. So I've been playing Scarlet. I'll kick that off as well.
Okay, cool.
And I would probably say, I think I'm like 4 or 5 badges in terms of the different criteria. I think I'm like 4 or 5 badges in. I'm 3 or 4 out of I think the 5 of the Titans, and similarly with the what's it called with the bases. I've been playing this game with my wife. Yeah, so I've been playing this game with my wife. It's her first Pokemon, and I remember I brought home both copies, being like, and she's like, no, I don't think so. And then we both got the flu, and we went down hard. So for the next week, all that we did was play Pokemon. So we've been playing it in spurts ever since. So that's about as far as I am, and
Cool. Sounds good. Lockleth, what about you? Where are you at in the game?
So,
You had to think about it.
I play Pokemon Violet,
Cool.
and I am probably 20 hours in almost. So I've
Okay, yeah.
done like 3 or 4 of the gyms and 3
Oh, wow.
of the star teams. It takes me a long time to do stuff. So like 20 hours
Yeah.
in, like I'm still in baby mode. And I think I've done 3 titans. So I think I've done like 3 of everything out of
Okay,
everything.
cool. Sounds good. So you're kind of midpoint too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Seth, what about you? Which version and where you at?
So I got Violet. I wanted to live Matt's living the dream. I wanted to do that Matt life. I wanted to have my wife play it with me. The game came out and she was actually kind of on board before the game came out, and then when it came out, she's like, whatever. So I guess the flu is the secret ingredient. We didn't catch the
That's
flu,
it.
but I guess that was what we were missing.
Darn.
So I'm playing Violet. I did beat the game. I put in like 65-ish hours into it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I did roll credits. I did all of the different story paths and things. Haven't completed the Pokédex. I would still like to do that,
Okay.
but haven't completed
Wow.
the Pokédex yet.
Cool. Sounds good. I've been playing Pokemon Violet. I beat the game Saturday, this past week, and I think I only put in, I would say like 28, 30 hours, something like that. I was kind of like blazing through the last 6 or 7 hours or something like that. So, but anyways, what is your, anyone can go on a room. What is your guys' history with Pokemon? Are you huge Pokemon fans? Do you like the games? Or yeah, pretty much.
Lockleth motions 2
Huge
Squishmallows
Pokemon fan.
behind her.
Got 2 giant
got some Gengars.
Gengar. I've got Pikachu. I've got Gengar and a little fire rabbit. I forget, Score Bunny.
Yeah, Fire Rabbit.
Cool.
Fire rabbit. But I've been
Fire
playing
Rabbit.
Pokemon since like Game Boy. So
Yeah. Since like you grew up with it.
yeah, I haven't played every
Cool.
single one, but every now and again I would pick it up for sure. Definitely a Pokemon fan.
Nice.
Yeah. I think I'm probably in the same boat as Lockleth. I remember I actually got Pokemon Red as a gift from my parents. I think I did like well on a report card or something. And they're like, here's this random game with a dragon on it. And that was actually before the anime had premiered here. So I started playing it. I was like, what is this? And then quickly fell down the rabbit hole. And then ever since, like, similarly, I've played a lot of them. I haven't played every entry. Like I kind of fell off in the DS era as Pikachu just fell off my head. I kind of fell off in the DS era just because I didn't have one. But I've played a bunch of them. Pokemon Silver, I think, is still my favorite, especially Soul Silver. But I've been with the series for a long time, and even still, I'll like pop an episode of the anime on here and there, just be like, "What's going on? I have no idea what's happening, but I'm just gonna watch a piece of this." So yeah, it's something that's still really special to me.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty much exact same boat. Day one, I was big Pokemon fan since I was a kid. Grew up with it. Same as it ever was. I always say, like, especially being in this sort of like mid 30s zone, like we were sniped as kids when those games came out. Like it was just the anime, the merch, the movies. Like it was just, hook, line, and sinker. I was all about it.
I'm still hooked.
Yeah,
I know.
Oh, it's just as bad now as it's ever
The-
been. Like in terms of all
cards
that.
back in the day, and even as an adult, I had a big spurt of a year of time where my husband and I both bought the Pokemon cards.
Yep.
Yes.
Nice.
Comes
played
in
them all.
waves.
And I have to shout out Pokemon Go too for just being like an awesome way to
Such a
bring so many
moment.
people back to the franchise. Like that, like couple months of just absolute like madness that was like it was up like 3 a.m. at the
Big
local
time.
mall, and there were still like hundreds of people there. And it was like the trailer. Everybody's like, "There's an Electabuzz over there." Everybody runs across the street. People start jumping fences. I'm like passing my phone through the fence to this guy so he can pick it up for me. Like this series is there's just something about it that I think, Seth, you nailed it. They caught us at the perfect time growing up, and it's just something that I'll probably be playing Pokemon for the next like however long I live. Let's say 40 years. I hope it's more than that, but let's throw out 40. I think Pokemon is just super special in that way. But Garret, what about you? What's your history with it?
I do have the VHS of the original Pokemon anime,
Yeah,
like
dude.
first 5 episodes of it. I grew up with Pokemon too. That was probably that is like the first major video game franchise I was really into. Any other gaming stuff. So yeah, huge Pokemon fan. I kind of fell out with Sword and Shield. That one sucked. And I just had to pull it out there. That game really sucked. But I'm back with it with Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet. So yeah, I'm a huge Pokemon fan. So let's dive into this game, guys. I'm gonna first start off just kind of revealing kind of the new things that are in this game compared to the previous ones. I think the biggest part is the open world and how we can go kind of any direction you want. And as Matt kind of prefaced, there's 3 different paths you can choose to get badges. One is through the Team Star hideouts, which is its own storyline. You got the 8 gym badges, which is pretty traditional. And then you also have the Titan Pokemon that has another storyline. So there's 3 distinct storylines that kind of converge all together at the end. And there's this big revelation. And I'm glad I did finish the game because there's a lot to it at the end as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is kind of the first game first Pokemon game, other than Legends Arceus, you can argue that, but traditional Pokemon that's doing this kind of open worldness, going to any direction. It looks like they're still trying to work out the kinks with this one. As I was playing through, I think the biggest notice for me was how off balance it can be in the middle of it. There's a lot of like level scaling that I did not anticipate. I went one different way, and I'm like, I could imagine going a different way and having a much smoother journey in this game. But I'm curious about what you think about the open worldness of Scarlet and Violet. Anyone want to jump in?
Yeah, I can hop on. Just because I kind of echo your same sentiments, Garrett. I think the open world works in a lot of ways and doesn't. I think this is one of the one of the few open worlds that I'll say since Breath of the Wild that kind of starts to capture that piece of go anywhere, do anything you want. Especially, I would say, at least in the first half of the game, you really feel like you can go anywhere, tackle things in any way, or form. You can kind of do anything. And that magic kind of starts to fade away, like when you've mentioned, once you start getting to that mid to like later half of the game, because the level scaling hits and it hits hard. Like I was literally like in an area where it was all like, I would say high 30s to low 40s, crossed a short bridge and everything was 52 and above. And it's just like, all right, I turned right around and went another direction. I'm glad that we have that flexibility to do that, because I wandered into an area and I was like, no, thank you. But the kind of veil starts to fall towards that side of it, because then you really do have to start going in a certain direction if you don't want to be battling uphill the entire way. So while I love the parts of the world, I think does feel alive. The fact that there's actually birds, like, in the sky and like up in trees, and like you can actually see the Pokemon running around a lot more. And there's parts of the open world that I think are really, really great. And then I think there's still a lot of empty space in between those. There'll be some paths that you take that just lead to nowhere. And it's just kind of like, all right, well, I guess this is just an area that you're just supposed to look at on the map. So while I think there are parts of it that it really, really succeeds at, there are parts of it that I'm really excited to see what they do next, because this is a very obvious build on Sword and Shield and Arceus, and now bringing us to Scarlet and Violet. I want them to have a bit of time to massage this a little bit more, because while I think it's good now, I think it easily has the potential to be really fantastic.
Yeah. I kind of come into it in a similar place, and I felt like Arceus was more, the game I always compare Arceus to actually is Monster Hunter. Like that to me feels like I have a mission, I'm going into a big open area for an objective, and then I'm going back to the home base and everything, where this is truly open. Like this is like, fairly seamless. This is an actual like open world. And yeah, I don't think it lands 100% of the time, but one of the things that I really enjoyed about the open world in this game versus something like Arceus was that it really, in Arceus, I felt like there was just a lot of like missed opportunity, a lot of like potential for, I would go into like a cave and I'm like, oh man, like this is a cool cave, and inside there's just like 3 like Machop walking around or something like that, or some Zubat or whatever. And in this game, I was like, oh, like I could spend, hours just going down this little side path and going into like this little, valley system and climbing up ladders and finding all the shinies laying around. And, and especially coming into a new generation, seeing all of these crazy new Pokemon that I've never seen before. Like there is something kind of magical about that. Like just kind of walking around and being like, what is that? Like I've, some of these designs are so wild, and I don't know, like there was something about that made me feel like how I felt when I was a kid. Like there was that just wide open possibility space that I feel like they've not had in the modern age.
And I already forgot the question, but
you just jump on whenever.
But what I was gonna mention when y'all were talking about like the open world and like how, man, my voice is cracking now. In the open world and like how things are actually in trees and like flying and stuff. That's probably a lot of the reason why I'm 20 hours in and only like halfway through, because I have to pay more attention to things, as especially if I want to complete the Pokedex, which I've abandoned that for now until I finish the game. But at the start, I was very heavily involved, very like trying to find everything. Like, where is this? I don't know, that apple looking Pokemon. I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah.
But it was supposed to be in these trees, and I'm like zooming in on like every little tree, like trying to figure out like where the heck is this Pokemon?
For sure.
Almost getting frustrated. But at the same time, like this is the first time we've had that experience before. And I thought that was really neat with how open everything is. Like you can go everywhere. And I tend to stay in the same area for a while until my Pokemon kind of level up and I'm still a little bit above. So I haven't come across like, going across a bridge and there being like level 50 Pokemon or anything. But I could see how that would be pretty easy to do, though, especially if you just keep going from place to place. Like I get easily distracted. That's basically it. And so I just stay in one area and I'm like, oh, look, a rock. Oh, look, there's a Pokemon over
Squirrel.
here. Like, squirrel, yeah.
Squirtle.
Squirtle.
Yeah.
It's surprising there's so many like Pokemon just all around in these wild areas. Like you kind of just go in the middle of one and you look on your map and you're like, wait, all of this Pokemon are around this area? Like it kind of like pulls you in and it's like, okay, I want to try to catch or trying to find all of these at least. So definitely a positive side of this is that I like how they're thinking forward about this open direction, which I think the Pokemon games should go forward to. I just think they definitely need to work out the kinks in terms of the scaling, because for me, the later third of the game, I would say I was way overpowered. I had Pokemon that was level 50s, and I was facing a gym battle that was level 16, 17. It was that bad. I basically did like a ring around, like from the east all the way around. And that was a bad move. You should go east and then west and go do the closer things to your starting point, then go to the farther things. That's what I learned with this game. But yeah, other than that, the open worldness. I like how open it is, but at the same time, as you guys said, it's pretty empty. And I kind of just got bored at the end. I was just like, I just want to finish this because it just seems so empty to me. But it's whatever.
What I will say about the open world is that, like, again, playing with my wife, it's been really cool to be like, all right, like, it's always like, okay, if we're going to our next destination, I'm like, all right, follow me. Otherwise, we're like, okay. And she just like scatters around and starts looking at everything, running around everywhere. So even just having that kind of like that back and forth, that being like even just like running past somebody, and it's so funny because sometimes you'll see the battles that they're in and stuff, and sometimes they're just standing there. Like I thought it was really cool when I was like, scamper by and heard Gyarados is out, doing something. I found like there are parts of it with when you start bringing the co-op into the open world that there's some really, really cool stuff. And I hope that they kind of figure out that side of it, because I felt like even just that small instance of having somebody else with me and seeing what they're doing as it's happening made the world feel a lot more alive. So I hope that they kind of iron that out, because I think those were parts of it that were really, really cool that just add to the open world, to the how alive that world can feel.
So did you guys do like online multiplayer together? Is that what you did, Matt? Oh,
So we
yeah,
just
that's
did
what you did
local.
too. So
We just did
you did
local.
local.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I heard the online multiplayer is actually pretty good.
Yeah, it worked
Like
fine
there's
for me. Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a big plus, I would say, in a Pokemon game. That's like the biggest plus. Because, when I was a kid, I wanted to be right next to my friends and go out Pokemon battling. When I was hearing from Rebecca, she did a lot of multiplayer stuff, and like she would have friends on the other side of the map.
Mhm.
And the stuff that she was doing is different from what their friends were doing, but the saves were kind of separate too, and you just carried the progression with you. And I thought that was actually kind of amazing that they figured that one out.
The one thing
Um,
that I will say that drove me nuts was that like whenever we like go, even like if you go to a Pokemon Center, they have that like yellow Union circle which you can use to like hop
mhm.
into each other's games. So we did just like the local, like we were both on our own Switches, but we didn't use the internet. We just used the capability of connectivity. And like for every time, whether we did it at the Pokemon Center or if we just did it in the field, it sends us to some random Pokemon Center across the map, and then it's like, okay, hold on, now we got to fly all the way back. So that's one thing I wish that they can figure out.
Okay.
If we do it at a Pokemon Center, let us meet at that Pokemon Center,
It's
not
weird.
across the
Yeah.
map for us to come all the way back. Like that was the one thing that for me that I was just kind of like, why?
That's weird.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah,
That's so
I
weird.
don't understand that. Well, I know they do weird things. I don't know if it's like this in local play, but I played online with Eric, my co-host on All In, a couple of times, and it was uh it'll like kind of load an instanced version of the world where it assigns everybody the overworld like Terra raid crystals or whatever.
Yes.
Everybody has their own assigned, crystal that they can interact with. And if you're playing with people who have the opposite version of the game, both of those version exclusives will pop up in the world and stuff,
Mhm.
which is cool. And like
Oh, cool.
that's great. Yeah. And to me, that's way better than like having to coordinate trades and stuff. I'd much rather
Mhm.
just, play together and get it naturally.
Let
Yeah,
me do it
and
myself.
okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure.
Super cool. Oh yeah, let's talk about the terrestrializing, the new novelty
Yeah.
in this Pokemon game. So of course, everyone knows how Pokemon goes. Everyone knows how to battle in turn base. At least I hope they do. But the newest thing here, of course, they had to put something in, is this terrestrializing crystal thing. Is a new mechanic in each Pokemon that you catch, and it could be unique. Basically, you have this crystal orb thing that powers up your Pokemon in a battle, and it can, depending on the Pokemon, it could be a completely different type once you put it to a different thing. So let's think of a Pikachu. He's electric. He can have a normal terrestrializing, and so if you terrestrialize it, and now it's a normal type when it's up. And so each of the moves that are normal type for that Pikachu is powered up against the enemy. So out of all the novelty things that happen, Mega Evolution was probably my number one. I like Mega Evolution a lot. But this terrestrializing is a little bit better than the previous ones. I think it adds a
Yeah.
little bit of more variety in terms of just like not just a fixed type for your Pokemon. It could be like, oh, this Pokemon has these types, but the Terra Crystal can make a huge difference. In a sense that you can change up your battle strategy pretty much with this new kind of crystal. So I don't know. What do you
I
guys think
love
about
it.
this?
I think it's super
Yeah.
cool. I think it's like low key brilliant, especially for. I think this game actually does a lot of really good things for competitive players, for people who want to
Mhm.
take this seriously and play competitively. They've made it more accessible than ever to do like nerdy things like IV and EV training and stuff like that. Like getting
Mhm.
all into the weeds with all of your bottle caps and your junk. Like they've made it way easier to do that than ever before. And then like the whole concept of a Terra type is kind of fascinating because like the ability to change your Pokemon's typing on the fly, the fact that it'll stack with, nerdy things like stab and things like that. Like competitive Pokemon players have a lot to be eaten in this game, which is cool because Pokemon Legends Arceus had none of it. So
No, I
like there's
didn't.
no competitive anything in Arceus. So it's really cool that this game has kind of leaned into that, and to see competitive Pokemon players like really get into this is a joy. I'm not one of them, but I think it's really cool.
Can't relate, Seth.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's solid. I think I'm with you, Garrett. Like, I don't think it reaches like the heights of what Mega Evolution was. I do think it's better than like the last few systems that we've had. The heights,
Oh.
but like, yeah, this feels to me like, I don't know, like the flea market version of that. I always think of like the flea market and seeing those like crystal sculptures. This is what that reminds me of.
Like your grandmother's house?
Exactly that. And that's what this flashes me back to. I will say, up until the point where I am now, all I'm pretty much using it for is to boost the super effectiveness of the type that I already am.
Right.
And I think I'm starting to get to a point now where you can start messing with it more. So I'm excited to see how that might change the back half of the game. But I think it's cool. I think the animation's cool. I think the way that like they crystallize and stuff is interesting. And I think it's a good gimmick. I think it works within this game.
I've definitely used it more than like the Mega
Mhm.
Evolution. I've definitely used it more, and I think I'm gonna probably use it even more. Like I don't use it in every battle, early, and I guess in the early parts of the game, but I can see myself utilizing it more in like the second half, like to finish it out, just to give you that little bit of boost. And it is nice too because my mind is a pigeon. I'm gonna say this on every show. My mind is a pigeon, and I forget what if it changes, like what they change to. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that it actually tells you.
Yeah.
It actually notates like what like they aren't going to change. It's going to still be the same type, but they're just a little bit stronger and that type of thing. So that helps for us pigeon brains. So
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's the mega evolution stuff is fixed. This Terra stylizing stuff is not. And even the later parts of the game, I was like really thinking, I'm like, okay, which Pokemon do I want to power up in the Elite Four? Which one do I want to on one of those last two battles, I had to really think. It's like I gotta strategize which Pokemon I power up because that can make a break if I lose this battle. So yeah, I was pretty open to it. Seth mentioned this a little bit, but the new Pokemon designs, we got a lot of new Pokemon in here. I think they're super cool. I think compared to the previous one, Sword and Shield, I didn't care so much about their Pokemon designs in there, but I did catch some, put it in my party. I had like Grafaiai. He was the poison monkey type Pokemon. Super dope. I had Palmote, the electric fighting, which was super powerful. Super love it. He had this move called in the end called Double Shock, which he's electric fighting type, like two types. But if you use Double Shock in a battle, he just turns into a fighting type. So that lends itself another strategy with him. He was a super cool one. But I'm wondering what you guys like. What's your kind of selection of new Pokemon? What are you into? Who's in your party? Yeah, pretty
all
much.
the dogs.
All the dogs. Yeah.
I'm making a doggo team. Like we're
Dog
gonna
squad.
There's
mush
so many
across.
dogs in this
Dog
one.
spot, so
Yeah,
many.
we're gonna mush across the land and
Yes.
conquer all the Pokemans and all the things. I still gotta find Greavard, even though Seth truly hates him to his
Oh,
core.
truly vile. Hot garbage in the
Yeah.
summer.
Ghost one?
Yeah, see, said it. There you go, Sean. There you go.
You can clip that, Sean. Take it, sure.
I haven't found Greavard, but Fido surprised me. Like I got him because he was a dog. He was cute. He's new. But his evolution of Doc Spun, is that how you say
Yeah.
it?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty strong. And
Yeah.
I like that
Okay.
he's like a braided bread, basically.
He's like a little baked braided
yeah,
bread.
he's like a little doughboy. Just
Nice.
Little
and he
dope boy.
barks. He barks.
He does
It's
bark.
so cute. I'm almost done. I need like 2 or 3 to finish up the doggo team, but that's if it's a dog, that's
It'll
what
be
I'm
a powerful
for.
team. No joke.
Yeah. All different types too. They all look like dogs, but they're all different. You can't beat us in a match whatsoever.
Exactly. You need to get Graveyard because I hear he has this special move with his later evolution. If all of your Pokemon's dead in the party, that move base attack gets enhanced like crazy.
Yeah, it's called
So
Last
it's-
Respects. Yeah.
Last respects. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
It's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I better find him soon because it sounds like he'll help me out in the second half of the
Oh
game.
yeah.
Probably.
You go up to the mountain, into the ice mountain or whatever.
Yeah, the ice
Glacial. You're
mountain.
tripping on them
Okay.
over there. Yeah, they're everywhere.
Okay. What is the guy that takes you around Arvin
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
to the
yeah.
Titans, his companion
Yeah.
in the game.
Mastiff.
I have him
Mhm.
now.
Oh, really? Cool.
He evolved into what is
Whatever
it?
that dog
Mastiff?
Pokemon
Yeah,
is.
Mastiff.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, that big thing,
Mabostiff.
Yeah.
the big boy.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Big boy.
I didn't know when I had him that he would turn into that, but when he did, I thought that was pretty neat. I was like, "Oh, I have one too."
It's you. Yeah, man. I think it's a really strong generation. I think like I really love the entire like Tinkatink, Tinkatuff, Tinkaton line
Oh
is
my
my favorite.
goodness.
They're
Yep.
so good, dude.
Legit.
Like that I love it anytime that like you can follow a storyline with evolutions with the Pokedex entries. Like Tinkatink starts out and she's this little like pipsqueak fairy type that gets picked on by the other Pokemon and then eventually builds a hammer for herself that she uses by sniping Corviknights out of the sky. And then the final evolution, she's got this big massive hammer and she's like, who's laughing now? She's a Monster Hunter Pokemon, basically. And oh, it's so good. And like that Gigaton hammer is so OP, that move that she has. Oh, it's my favorite. Oh, I love it so much. I love there's even like some dorky ones like Spidops, that like secret agent like spider guy that looks like he has like celery arms.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh my
is it
gosh.
the one that starts off in like a little
He's like a little
ball
web
and
ball
yeah, and
thing.
then he
Yeah.
turns into like a humanoid.
Spindly. He looks so
thing is-
dumb. I love it.
That thing's gross. Like,
Yeah, he's the best. I love it. They even did like long time, people have wanted a dolphin Pokemon for forever, and they finally did it. They made a really cool there's like a dung beetle Pokemon that will evolve into this like psychic type dung beetle with like a Fu Manchu beard, and he has like this like psychic orb that he's rolling around. It's super cool. Like there are some strong designs, man.
you were
Yeah.
talking about dolphins, and then you went to dung beetle, and you lost me because I was like, "What?
Yeah.
A dung beetle turning into a dolphin?
Like
What?"
crazy.
It's Pokemon. No, I have to agree with you guys. I really like this generation. A lot of these Pokemon are really cool. The only one I currently have in my party is my starter, is my little Fuecoco final evolve, which I'm blanking on the name right now. I usually just get into this groove of a similar team, but like the one that I've been looking for is that dolphin, because I hear the evolution is basically a like Clark Kent / superhero, like Superman thing, where like it starts off with one thing and then turns into something else. Like
Yeah.
some of these designs are really, really cool. And even like the exploration factor, I found that with like Sword and Shield, I didn't care too much when I saw a new Pokemon on the map. In this one, I'm like, there's something new. I want to go catch that thing. I want to see what it is to see if I want to pull it in or not. Because I think these designs are really strong. And I'll kind of like lump the legendary in with here. I've seen like screenshots of some of the other legendaries, which I don't really want to get into because I think those surprises are really cool. But like the designs that I've seen online are awesome. And I love that, like, the box legendary is with you from pretty much the beginning of the game.
The jump.
I think it's so cool to have them so integrated into the story. I love both of the designs. And I think it's just a really cool way to like integrate the box legendary, instead of just being this thing that you find eventually, to actually having a story alongside you in the game. I think is super dope. And I think they really nailed this generation in terms of the creature designs.
Yeah, totally agree. There is this one very memorable design in the Elite Four. I think it was like a final evolution of Pokemon. It looked like a samurai beetle thing.
Oh yeah.
And he sat on his own hair or something
cool.
like that, like a chair. And I was scared to death. I was like, how do I defeat this thing before it murders my whole party? Yeah, they did a really good job with all the different Pokemon, and actually kind of like crazy little evolution tricks and things. Like with Pomo, the evolution, you have to like send out that previous Pokemon evolution out and in the Pokemon Go mechanic version. Also, I don't know if you guys tried that one out. I'm sure you have with the hideouts. How do you like the let's just shoot out our Pokemon and do some automatic battling throughout the open area? For me, it was just like kind of, I don't know. I tried it out a few times, but it doesn't really give you that much experience. It's just okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't like grind as much, but I guess I have to do it for the hideouts.
I like it actually. I found that it's a pretty quick way, especially when I was like grinding my Eevee to try and get it up to a Sylveon. I found that it worked quite well, even in just terms of like building up the friendship. So even like, while I'm just kind of running around like on the back of the Pokemon, like I'll just toss stuff out as I'm going and just kind of grab stuff along the way. It's not massive, and it can't replace fully training or fully grinding. But I think if you're looking just to kind of bounce up a couple quick levels, especially like under level 40, I think it works quite well. I kind of like it.
Cool.
I like rarely used it. I think the times where I did use it more was to like clear out an area of Pokemon that I've already caught. Especially if I'm looking for a specific one, like specifically the ones in the trees. Like my eyes, I'm not that old, but my eyes they suck clearly because I wear glasses. So it helps me to clear out all the Pokemon on the ground so they're not trying to fight me as I'm trying to capture things that are like up above. So like for those instances, yeah. But other than that, I didn't really use it that often.
Yeah, that was where I was at too. I didn't use it a lot. I mean, obviously, you kind of have to use it in the Team Star bases and stuff, but out in the open world, yeah, I didn't really use it a lot. I would do like you, Lockleth. I would kind of clear spaces sometimes because otherwise, it can be so annoying when you're fighting a Pokemon and then there's another one in the open world that just comes up right behind you, like that like Undertaker meme or whatever, which is like right behind you, waiting. It's super annoying, and I just got out of a Pokemon. Now I got this stupid like Tauros right here behind me. And
Yes.
it's just
I
like
had to dodge and weave.
Yeah, some of them are so small you don't see them, so it kind of helps to clear them out a little bit.
Just minding my own business. Yeah. So I'd use it in situations like that, but yeah, right. Otherwise though, it's just kind of like, I think the best use case for it is a good way to get materials, which you can use for the TM crafting, which is also new.
Okay.
And that's cool, but I also didn't really find myself having to engage with that too much. It's, yet another mechanic where I'm like, this is cool for, I could see competitive players getting really into TM crafting and really being able to make their perfect loadout, having that option to be like, okay, I have these materials, I can make the TM I want to give the Pokemon the move I want. But it's as a casual, like kind of PvE player, I didn't really engage with it,
Yeah.
There was a lot of side stuff I didn't get involved with.
I didn't use that at all. But it brought up, it reminded me of something in regards to your Pokemon learning new moves. I like that your Pokemon can suggest if they should learn it and what it should replace. Or if it didn't think it could learn it, it could tell you like it doesn't need to learn that, and then you can opt out of it. Like I used to just make those decisions myself, and mine would be if it's not just killing your HP, I don't want it. That's basically I'm all power. I'm like no like defense drop. No, I want power and that's it. And so it was nice that the Pokemon like tells you like, hey, you should probably replace that with this. And 9 times out of 10, it would be a decision that I probably would have made, but it is nice that it kind of just did that for me. And I didn't really have to, I took their advice most of the time.
Yes.
So
nice.
And that you don't have that your Pokemon just remember their moves now. You don't have to take them back to that stupid move tutor that you've always had to do. Like, it's like, duh. Like, why is it taking us this long to do this? Oh, drives me
travel
crazy.
Across the world.
Yes, to this one NPC. Hope you know where the move tutor is. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, no, I totally agree. The remembering moves was a different thing. Actually, in the game, told me, like it reminded me, it's like, hey, you can always just go back and just learn this later if you want to try it out. I'm like, that's super neat. Thank you for telling me this. So I guess we can get into side stuff a bit more. You mentioned about the TM making, Seth. I'm wondering about the sandwiches. Did you guys get into the sandwich making of this game? I didn't do too much of it. I didn't go to the picnics and make the sandwiches. I know your legendary Pokemon is obsessed with the sandwiches, which I don't know why a motorcycle is obsessed with a sandwich, but here we are. Did you guys do a lot of the side things, including the academy stuff? I didn't find myself gravitating towards that either. Yeah.
I haven't touched the academy stuff at all. You kind of just reminded me that it exists, just because like you get that random pop-up being like, you can take a different class now. And I'm like, okay, anyways, back to run down this hill. But yeah, the TM crafting I've like barely engaged with. Like I'll check it every now and again. If I have what I need to make something, I'll do it, but I don't go out of my way to kind of engage with it. And the sandwiches, I did it a bunch again when I was just trying to get friendship up with my Eevee, just because it's a good way to do it. But dude, the amount of sandwiches I have completely messed up just because of like it doesn't drop where I think it's gonna drop.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Like especially for a lot, like it drives me nuts that you can't rotate the pieces.
Yeah.
Like it's like yeah, the sandwich goes lengthwise or widthwise, but all the sausages have to go lengthwise. For what reason, I couldn't tell you. So for the amount of time, like food that I've wasted trying to make sandwiches is probably more food than what my Pokemon have actually eaten. I think it's cool, but I kind of feel like some of these side stuff was just kind of tossed in and be like, let's just throw more at the wall, whatever sticks. I didn't feel like it was particularly engaging. I thought it was there. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was good. I think it was just there.
I did several picnics, but I only made one sandwich. But you're right, it is like a claw machine type of thing. You can only see it from one angle. You can't turn to the side, otherwise you're apparently cheating. I don't know. Didn't do any of the TM stuff, but the academy, like I went to almost every class to the point where you're taking midterms.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So you keep taking the class so many times, and then you have a midterm that you have to take. And so I've taken like at least 3 of the class midterms, which is like 5 questions, and you have to get 3 out of 5 right to pass the midterm. And I passed my classes. So look at me
Good
going
for
back to
you.
school,
Yeah.
Pokemon style.
Nice.
So what does it do? What is the benefit of going to class? Let me ask you this because I've just skipped school.
So
I played hooky.
I played hooky.
you do get stuff like little things like potions and stuff. Like you earn, you do when you get to the midterm bit and you do complete that. That's when I saw like I got something back from it. I can't remember off the top of my head what I got, but I did get something. Like it was worth my time. I was doing it just to see what would happen. I was like, I know we don't have to go, but like they keep mentioning these classes or whatever. Like I'm gonna go to this art class 4 or 5 times. And then I noticed that on a different day in game that there was a midterm. And I was like, okay, this is different. And so I went. And besides like it's kind of a refresher of sorts in terms of things you should know. Like it did refresh my memory on stuff because there was times I raised my hand in the class and I got the answer wrong. But I mean, there's no penalize for that. But the midterm bit, yeah, you get those right. You get something back in return. So it wasn't all for naught. You did do something, even though if it was all for naught, that's just what I do. I'm like, like I said, I get lost, I get confused, I get very easily distracted. I'm like, ooh, class, let's go.
Yeah. It's great for people who need that sort of stuff too, like people who are new to the franchise and they might want to learn about, because it'll teach you about nerdy things like stab and stuff. And even though that's not, they don't come out and say it, but it'll teach you like competitive strategies and things. There was something that I kind of complained about somewhere on one of the podcasts. I said something like, I wish that they would signpost you more towards the legendaries, because you have that whole thing where you find like the weird stakes in the ground and stuff. And actually the classes do that, but you just have no reason to engage with them at all. So it's like, I kind of wish that there was like more incentive, like more reason. I actually think it'd be kind of cool if the gym leaders were just also your teachers. Like if there was just that little bit of like connective tissue or something to the academy. Because I think it feels a little bit disjointed otherwise. There's come to find out like some of the members of the Elite Four are also teachers at the academy. And it's like, that's cool. Like that, makes me wish that I had a reason to engage with the academy more, so.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It feels like this game had a lot of cool ideas just floating around in this game. It just didn't really connect. And I think until the very end, I think they had the end kind of more wrapped up than any of the parts of like mid game. Like the majority of the game seems a little disparate, as you said. But at the end, they kind of glued it all back together. But before we get into that, I want to talk about your experience about the performance of this game, because I think that's one of the hard knocks about this Pokemon game compared to all the previous ones. How, we've seen the hilarious tweets out there. We've seen all the bug breaking stuff with the eyes popping out and the hills
Clapping
randomly
the
flashing.
elbows.
Yeah, exactly. At least for me, it wasn't like anything game breaking per se, but it was noticeably just stuttering a lot. It's just so obvious that this game was just holding by just a thread before it kind of just like broke on you. I'm just surprised how I just was able to play all the way through without really breaking too much of stuff. But I think the main negatives for me was the draw distance, how pixelated it was, and then kind of the pop in was pretty bad in a lot of parts. There was literal Pokemon being like popping like flashing on my screen at the academy. You can see obvious frame kind of course, farther the objects, what they do a lot is they lower the frame rate, and they do this
Right.
in plenty of other games too, like Monster Hunter Rise is a perfect example. But this
Yeah.
one's kind of so obvious to the point of like that looks like a flash animation to me, stop motion animation to me, rather than an actual game. So I was curious if this ever really bothered you a lot. I know a lot of Pokemon fans don't seem to care that much. They're just having a lot of fun with this game, but curious to know what you guys think about the performance of this game.
Well,
go
I
for
didn't
it.
think it was okay, so it was a lot of the pop-in and stuff was very noticeable in the academy as well with actual people. And then, a random like school child like throwing
Yeah.
up a Pokeball in the middle of you trying to battle this Pokemon that you're trying to catch, like in the wild. Those types of things were, at least for those instances, you can change the camera around. Like it wasn't too terrible. Um, but like those things, after a while, did it bother me? I guess, and maybe I'm on that line of I'm a Pokemon fan, so it's like whatever.
Mhm.
I'm just here for the cute Pokemans. Um, but I will say, like the parts that were like funny was like when you're riding the legendary, and like you can do I don't know if this is like spoilers or whatever, but basically you can jump backwards
Yeah,
and you
you
can
could
go
Yeah.
up hills,
Yeah.
places you're not supposed to go. And I learned that very early on and used it for my benefit. I mean, it's there. I did it. I'm in
Yeah.
this crater over here. Hello. I'm way over here. I'm not supposed to be, but I am. I used it to my benefit. I haven't done it in a little since the patch, so I don't know if it's still a thing. I'm sure it probably is. But for those like I don't know, like an Andros of Nintendo Pals, he would just take that and run with it probably and
Mhm.
do some
Yeah.
sort of crazy video with it, where stuff like that would be funny for like a video. But for those that are actually like playing the game and like spent the money, I could see it being very difficult, especially if you don't like those types of things like the pop-ins and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But one other thing that was funny with the legendary too is like, did y'all ever run or like jump down and there would be just a person there and like they would not
Mhm.
move, but you would
Yep.
just be flown backwards?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the funniest thing to me. I know we're talking about this being a bad thing, but like that was so funny. Like I did that so many times on purpose to like little children because I know they wouldn't knock over and like I'm over
My
here.
goodness.
I would do this on purpose to little children.
All right,
Lockleth, Carpool Gaming.
I'm gonna leave
It's
this
like a
map
Skyrim
marker.
children.
Yeah, she's like Lockleth's like, okay, here's a child. Map marker here. I'm gonna go climb that tower and just jump down onto this child. They're fine.
Listen, they can't be harmed. I mean, it's a game anyways at the end of the day. It's not real.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
True.
It's like Skyrim children. They're unkillable, apparently.
I mean, you have to
Apparently.
battle mostly children anyways. You are
Literal
true.
toddlers.
You got to beat them up. Yes.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm of two minds when it comes to the performance. I do think it's pretty inexcusable the state that the game shipped in. I do think that the pop-in was horrendous, especially when you're like we've kind of briefly mentioned earlier, some of these Pokemon are very, very small. If you're running down the road and the game isn't loading fast enough for it to catch up, you'll get into a battle with nothing and then the Pokemon loads in. I had multiple instances where my ride, like my legendary Pokemon, would just disappear and I'd be like floating around on nothing as I kind of made my way over. I fell through the floor a bunch of times. I had situations where I would just jump onto something and just get stuck. I think it's pretty ridiculous that it came out in this shape, especially because say what you will about Nintendo, a lot of their games aren't usually plagued by technical issues. I think this is a much more of a rarity in the world of Nintendo Switch than it is a constant, which makes this stand out that much more.
Mm-hmm.
It was so bad that like when the game launched, I almost didn't pick it up on launch because all I saw was how awful the performance was. And I will say that I do think it's awful. Like it's not just bad. It's really, really bad. But the wizardry that comes with Pokemon, and I don't know how much of this is, me being a longtime fan, I did forget about it as I got deeper into it. It was very, very noticeable at first. And then I don't know if it's just like Stockholm syndrome that I got used to the situation that I was in and it just became normal. That I think like I still ended up and I'm continuing to really enjoy my time with it despite all of that. Is it okay? Should the next Pokemon, should the next any game should ever be released at this state and being charged full price? Absolutely not. The fact that so many people are engaging with it and enjoying with it despite all those issues, I think speaks to the quality of the game as a whole. But it is pretty awful that the game exists in its current state and the state that it existed before before this massive patch, because it did clean up a lot of the frame rate stuff. At least it did for me. It's still there, but I think it sucks that the game launched in this state, and I hope that this is going to be something that gets continued to get cleaned up over time, and it's something that we won't have to worry about moving forward. Because people work for this stuff, people pay money for this, people are excited to have these entries, which we don't get often, and it sucks that people did have game breaking or possibly awful and very often hilarious bugs. But I don't think it's okay that it launched in this state.
I'm also curious to know how many people like rushed through to finish the game before the patch came out, thinking, there's no way there's going to be a patch. Like this is the state. I just wanted to get through it to say that I finished it.
Yep.
Because I'm sure there's people out there that rushed through it and finished before the patch came out because they didn't think one was coming, and they, being a fan or wanting to say they completed the game, got through it. Rushed through the whole thing. So I'm curious.
Oh yeah. I mean, people should understand this isn't just rare. It's unprecedented. Like it never happens that a first party Nintendo game comes out with performance this bad to the point where Nintendo in writing apologized for it and promised to continue to fix it even beyond just the patch that we got. And I was genuinely surprised. I thought Nintendo was just going to be complacent. We got our sales. It sold like 10 million units in 3 days. Cool. We're moving on. It's Pokemon, print money. And no, like I'm actually impressed that they're committing to fixing it. And I agree with you, Matt. I think it's inexcusable. I think they should be ashamed of themselves for releasing it in the state they did. Like the thing is that the game is so good and like it's Pokemon, so it does have a little bit of that like fairy dust on it. So we are kind of willing to forgive certain things. Arceus, objectively, doesn't run great, but after like a couple of hours, like, okay. And compared to this game, Arceus looks like the Mona Lisa. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's like way better. It's like, wow, those issues actually are quite minor in the grand scheme of things. Look at how bad it could be. And it's unfortunate because this game is a total victim of the Pokemon machine. It's not because of Switch hardware. We've seen games like Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Monster Hunter. We've seen these kind of like big games. Even The Witcher 3 runs on at like 500p, but it runs, and like it's inexcusable for a Pokemon game to come out in a state like this. Even little things like you'll look at a cliff face and it's just this gross tiled texture copy pasted, across the whole thing. It's just like so clearly made with not enough development time because they have to rush these things out so that the anime can keep rolling, so that the plushies and the trading card games, they can't just simply delay the game and let it cook another 6 months because everything else has to come in line with it. They'd rather, apologize for it later, patch it later, whatever. It's got to come out this holiday, It's super unfortunate because the game underneath it all is so good. Like, if this game had just rock solid performance, it would probably be my favorite Pokemon game. Like, it's really strong and, in a lot of ways.
And I'm glad that you brought that up, Seth, because I don't think this is a specific Game Freak only issue, which so many people are very quick to be like, it's the devs, they did this. the devs are caught in a very unfortunate cycle of anime, of plushies, of merch, of everything having to coalesce all at the same time, and they're just trying to do what they can give it the time that they did. The fact that we had Arceus this year is just unnecessary when you think about how much development time could have just been spent on one of them. Arceus wasn't a necessity this year. I love the game. I think it was great. But can you imagine if Game Freak actually had a proper development cycle and time? Because again, we keep falling in love with these games over and over again because there is some fairy dust on it. There is something inherently that's really great about the way that these build these games. They just never have enough time to get it to where it really should be. And I mean, like we've seen that over the Switch generation, I'd argue, more so than ever before. And I just want them to have the time for the next one that they need to make something really incredible so that everybody can say Pokemon is Game of the Year this year for for this list of reasons, because I think this has the structure, the bones to be a Game of the Year. It's just being let down by the performance.
It's not like a creatively bankrupt game. They do so many cool things.
Exactly.
Game Freak so clearly has like a fire and a passion for this game. Like there's so many interesting ideas and things that this game does right. It's like it's not some kind of just lazy, let's put this out and make our, 20 million units sold and move along. It's not like that for them. And you can tell, you can feel it in the game. It has a heart. There's like a beating pulse in there, but it's just a victim of the Pokemon machine, and it's super unfortunate. And like we rag on a franchise like Call of Duty, who also does annual releases, but the difference is they put forth the money to hire multiple studios that are making these games at the clip they are, but they're able to work on them for 2-3 years at a time. The Pokemon Company's not doing that, and that's how you become the highest grossing entertainment property on planet Earth, is because you spend as little money as possible for the most profit possible, right? So we're victims of that, and we all bought it anyway,
Yep.
So
pretty much.
I'd do it again.
Right.
Pretty much. Well, glad you guys talked it out, because I think I talked about a lot about this too. And Shaq, is that the performance here is pretty bad, but I think this is kind of the borderline of where people are. And Pokemon fans, I'm sure, is acceptable, but it just cannot. It's not breaking. It was never breaking for me, particularly throughout the game, as long as I kind of stood within the borders and I wasn't trying to like go through mountains and walls like crazy. I was able to just go on the road and just be fine. So I think this is like borderline. Like I wouldn't say it's acceptable to my standards, but like, okay, to a common Pokemon fan or a kid, sure, they can play this game and just be fine and have fun with it. Yeah, some good talks there. I'm glad I left this conversation later in the podcast so we don't like, scare people away from this game, because I think, as you guys said, it's a lot of fun. For people who don't really get into the technical side, the performance side, I think a lot of people will find a lot of fun with this game too. But yeah, there is definitely some technical issues we had to just lay out there. It's pretty rough compared to a lot of other Switch games. I think the last thing I want to talk about in terms of the game is like, I think it's a pretty, I wish they did a little bit better job of, and I think that this is part of the timing issue as well, is that the towns didn't really grab me. These towns are so not filled with life at all, which I actually, for Pokemon, that's actually kind of weird, because I've always had when I was going on a Pokemon journey, let's say X and Y, I remember every town having its own flair, its own feel to it, its own characters, its own. I mean, of course, the gym is just like kind of like the focal point, but it have all these side things. Like Silver and Gold, like the city you remember is like Goldenrod City.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, you got the mall, you got the, kind of the weird trainers and like all the different things you can do within the city on top of the gym. And then you got the Forest City, and then you got, the Ampharos with the lighthouse. These are memorable, whereas these towns, I feel like I go in, I go to the gym, I get out. And that's pretty much what I do. I wish they did a better job of filling life, at least within these towns. I don't know if you guys agree with it or not.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, Garrett. Just like I feel like Pokemon does a really good job of making locations that are inherently memorable. I think a lot of these ones look really cool from a distance. Like the
Yes.
one city that's like on the water with the influencer, with the
Yeah.
influencer gym leader.
Yeah.
Um,
That one's
and
cool.
like
Yeah.
that one's cool. And like I feel that there are really cool ideas for cities, but then you get there and like you mentioned, there's nothing really there outside of some food stalls and then the gym and the Pokemon Center. I think that was just an unfortunate byproduct of them going in this kind of open world way that they did, because there is no indoors outside of like the gyms and a couple restaurants. Like there's
Right.
nothing, there's nowhere to go. There's no inherent identity that you can kind of marry to a lot of these towns, because all it is just a vehicle for you to show up, battle, and get out. So I do think that there was something lost there. I agree with you, because I like, even like you said, like even thinking back to like Goldenrod, thinking back to like even like the areas between towns of having that like giant area where it's just all bikers all the way down back in like Pokemon Red and Blue, right? Like there are parts of those areas that you remember. I don't think I could spot anything from the map on this game and be like, yes, that place is cool. There are cool locations that you can kind of be like, oh, look, I kind of wonder what's over there. But I do think that there was something lost there. I do think some of that personality was just kind of just not there.
Mm-hmm.
You mean there wasn't personality in that windmill that was just going like this?
2 frames a second.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like in 2 frames
That's true.
around.
It's
That was
generating
good
some energy for you.
that left a lasting impact on
That thing
me.
probably
I bet it
uses
did.
more energy than it generates. Okay.
Yeah, probably right. Yeah, man. I'm of two minds on it, because on one hand, I do think it's pretty cool. Like, I love when you're just exploring at night and yeah, you can see in the distance. It almost reminds me of Fallout New Vegas. Like at night, you can just see the lights of Levincia in the distance, how you can see the Vegas Strip lit up at night as well in Fallout. It kind of reminds me of that. And then there are a couple like really cool towns. Like I really like the one in the mountains where it's like where the ghost gym leader is, and it's this little sleepy, there's like 3
That one's
houses.
cool, yeah.
It's kind of neat. There's that one that has like this weird giant olive in it for some reason.
Yes.
Like just like weird little stuff like that. There's one that's like this Mediterranean, almost Italian looking town with like tiled, like original Pokemon pixel sprites in the tile work. Like it's pretty cool. Like there are a couple like neat things. The problem is they're just blips in the open world and there is nothing to do in them. If I had anything at all to do in them, it would be better, more memorable. If I had any reason, in past Pokemon games, and this is kind of a double-edged sword because you would be encouraged to go inside houses and talk to NPCs. And here, which is it's kind of nice because now they'll highlight if an NPC actually has something worthwhile. Their dialogue will be highlighted in yellow, which is great on one hand, but on the other, it discourages you from that feeling of exploration. Like I have to go and talk to everybody. I have to go in this building and that building. Now there's no building to go into, and you don't need to talk to anybody unless they're highlighted. So I think the byproduct of that is the towns just feel like pit stops. You don't even have to go into them to use a Pokemon Center anymore.
I mean,
Not really.
there are like literal gas station
Right.
pit
Yeah.
stops
Yeah.
at every town too.
Mhm.
And the only places you can go in, I know like you mentioned like restaurants, Matt, but like those you don't really go in. Like you just have a
They're like
list as soon as you
screens.
Because
walk
you have
in.
a stand. Yeah.
Yeah. But like the hair salon, you can actually go into a building. I don't think I've talked to anybody when I was in there besides the lady being like, hey, 3,000, whatever the currency
Yeah.
is to get a hairstyle. And you have to pay up front. Like,
Right?
can I see what
It's
the
weird.
products are first? Just like every other place. But no, the hairstyle, like, no, you pay and then we fix your hair.
And
Like
then
Yeah. Yeah.
that bothered me because I thought I did it once and I like had enough early on to do that. And I was like, oh, well, maybe these are different than the start menu. No,
No.
Nope.
they're the same. Don't be tricked. They're the same. So if you don't like your hair at the beginning, don't even bother.
Don't pay
Don't,
money
yeah.
for the new haircut.
Yeah, don't bother with it. But I will say the Olive Town that you mentioned, Seth. Before I went to the gym and like had to do that mini game before you do the
Mhm.
boss.
Yeah.
I saw that field with the giant olive, and my first thought was, wow, if I had a few friends here, we could like play a game
Play
together.
football.
Like,
Yeah.
Of Push
have
the
our
Olive.
own, yeah, like have
Push
our
the olive,
own
yeah.
because there's 2 baskets. So
On
it's
Rocket
literally like
League.
a soccer field. Yeah, it's a Rocket League. And you're on your mounts already.
Olive League. Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
Olive
Olive
League,
League.
yeah.
Olive League. There you
We
go.
should do this. Make a
We should
YouTube
do
video
this.
for carpool gaming.
Carpool
Yes.
Olive League.
Carpool Gaming Olive League.
Get it all
I think it'd be
super
awesome.
tricked out, design like a
The Violets
logo
versus
for
the
it.
Scarlets.
And you
We're
know
all
what?
on-
Yes.
We could easily get like the jerseys from like there's all the different
yeah.
jerseys from like the different types and stuff.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you guys bring up some cool points. But what I will say though is that what I missed from the personality from the towns, I think we got in spades with the gym leaders, and even just like
Oh, yeah.
I think these are some of the coolest gym leaders in
Same.
recent memory from my experience, and even just the ways that you get to battle them isn't just this homogeneous. This is the same thing you're doing every time. Like the one of the standouts was even if it was easy, the influencer gym, you know, like the little mini games that you play leading up to her, sorry. The gym with where you have to go to like the fish market for them. And even
Yeah.
it's just as funny as like the normal gym when that town
Dude, I
just looks
love that
incredibly
guy.
normal. The guy just looks so like commonplace. I think they've really nailed the gym leaders. And I think that kind of almost like brings up the personality for the town just because of how cool a lot of them are and how different and varied each experience is in the town once you're actually there kind of rolling through. But yeah, I did like that they at least put a ton of personality in the gym leaders.
Yeah, I agree with you. The gym leaders, also the storylines in here, like Team Star, the Titan
Yeah.
hideout, how everything kind of comes together at the end and what the ending actually is. And I won't spoil it because I think you guys need to finish this game
Yeah.
because I think it's the best part of the game. And I think Seth agrees with me. It's
Yeah.
like it kind of brought up my impressions of the game at least another point, like another
So
like
good.
letter grade up. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so cool.
Once you hit the Elite Four, from then on, the last bit is pretty dope for sure.
Yeah, man.
This
Like-
is the first time that I cried from a Pokemon game. That
Oh,
Titan
yeah.
storyline, that
Get me started.
right, that Titan storyline caught me, and I won't go into any spoilers, but like once you start to see what it is, like it caught me so off guard, and I like again like from someone who's dealt with similar situations in the
Yeah.
past. Like I was just in tears, and my wife was looking at me. She was about 2 minutes behind me. She's like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, "She's like, we were just fighting this giant Pokemon. What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "You'll see in 2 minutes." And then 2 minutes rolled around, and she's like, "Why are we doing this?" I'm like, "I told you." So it's just like it's the first time that a Pokemon game has actually ever caught me off guard narratively
Mhm.
in a really fantastic way. And I keep hearing about how good the ending is, and I can't wait to get there.
Mhm,
Dude.
Same.
Yeah, the final section is so well done. It's funny playing this game. I thought about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 a lot, and I was kind of comparing
Yes,
them
me
in
too.
my mind. And one of my only big complaints with Xenoblade 3 is the ending. Like the way, not the ending itself, but the lead up to the ending, the final kind of area, I thought was really lame.
You kind of know.
I hated the final boss. Like
Oh, it's terrible.
Like I really disliked it. This is the exact
2
opposite. I
hours
was
of
like,
your life.
yeah, I was like, this is how you end a story. Like this is the final area of the game is the coolest area of the game. The music
felt
there is
goosebumps, man.
incredible. Yeah, it's like amazing. It's amazing to look at the narrative, like the contextualization when you introduce, because you're getting new Pokemon introduced right up until the end, and it's so cool. And like the way it all coalesces, all of those storylines come together in such a cool way. I'm like, this is how you end a story, dude. And yeah, I was right there with you, Garrett. Like finishing that made me just immediately just like my opinion of it ratcheted straight up. It's like,
Yeah. I wish that, like, honestly, after the gym badges, I wish that was more of the midpoint of the game because I wanted more of that type of
Yeah.
storyline with the Pokemon game rather than the gym badges are fine. And don't get me wrong, it's just a lot of rinse and repeat. And I'm like, all right, let me do this again. Let me do this again. Let me go through the Pokemon battle again. But this ending part, the Elite Four was cool too. I like the Elite Four and all the different trainers there, their different personalities. I love the ending of each of the 3 journeys as well. And they kind of resolved all around pretty well. They had some kind of cool story moments and surprises. So yeah, guys, finish the game.
Yeah,
It's
dude.
really,
I'm
really
finishing
good
it.
stuff.
I'm finishing it. I just couldn't do it before tonight. I had
Likewise.
yeah.
All good.
So
All
many
good.
cramming sessions per Sean Capri
Yeah.
if he was here.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I know we're a little late here, but let's kind of blaze through these questions because we got a few of them. So we're going to be reading from the sacred texts with you guys, blinding ourselves. We'll start with Anaga Chaka over here. He asks, which Pokemon game would you recommend for a 7-year-old as their first Pokemon game? Everyone in the community has given me their seal of approval for Let's Go Pikachu. Should I try to get a Pokeball as well for the motion controls to enhance the experience? So, Let's Go Pikachu. Is that a good one to start for a
I think
7-year-old?
so. Personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm playing or I've played some of Let's Go Eevee. So I think I like that. I think if they don't, it depends on their age. Like if they don't care about the storyline or wouldn't really comprehend, maybe Legends Arceus would be good because you can just literally the theme of that is just catching Pokemon, and some kids just really enjoy just catching them all. And so throw them in a field where that's all they can do, and they don't even have to go into a battle to do it too. I think that would be an interesting take.
Yeah. And I think Let's Go, you can also play co-op. Which is cool. You can do like local co-op together. That'd be cool. I don't have it near me, but I do have that Pokeball Plus, and I actually liked controlling the game that way. Because it's like a one button game essentially, and so you just have the little stick, you're moving around, and then you have the button at the top, and like that's it. It's a very, very simple game. I think it'd be perfect. Barring that, I actually think this game would be a great one to jump in together because you can play co-op together online and walk them through it and stuff. And but yeah, I think Let's Go would probably get my vote overall. It's also like a great introduction to that original 151. It's the one we all grew up with. It's that classic story setup, like I kind of love the idea of having a modern way for kids today to experience what we all experienced,
I think I'm with you guys. I think Let's Go Pikachu or Eevee is probably the best one to hop into at that age, especially because it gives you the beginning of a lot of the mechanics that make up the kind of mainstay Pokemon games. So it's a really solid entry point to start learning, and then you can continue on, as you dive deeper into one of the later entries. But I think Let's Go is a really, really great starting point.
Just throw him on like Pokemon Conquest. What was that strategy one on DS? Just throw him on that. See how he does.
Yeah, there you go. The Fire Emblem one.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Throw them in the pits.
Yeah,
I actually have that one. It's super dope. Yeah. So the Muffin Mon asks, which of the new starters had the best evolution line, and why was it Sprigatito? I'm a Quaxley guy, but even I had to admit the truth. Don't get me started on the abomination that was Coco's evolutions. Some opinions thrown around over here. Matt swinging his arms around. What do you think about that? Muffin Mon just trashing your Coco like that.
Listen, Kevin's a great guy, but we all know that he knows nothing. So I'm just listen. It's just a bucket of bolts rattling around up there. Okay, so no wonder he sees green cat, so excited. I think all of these evolution lines are great. I do like the Fuecoco line a lot, especially as it kind of like it's the ugly middle child. It really just is. Like I love that. I love that Pokemon so much, and I love that line. Is it the cutest? No. Does it go hard? Of course it does. That thing has a little firebird that hatches and then sits on its face. That thing is awesome. But yeah, the Sprigatito line is really cute.
Yeah.
I think if I was going to order it, and I hate to agree with Kevin, I'm calling him Kevin. Get a job, Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin.
Get a job.
Good job, Kevin.
Get a job, Kevin.
If I was going to order it, I would go with, in regards to taking into account all three evolutions, I would go with Sprigatito first. I would go with Quaxley second, because I'm keeping Quaxley as it is. I'm not evolving it at all, even though its third, even though its last evolution is
ugly.
Decent.
Nope.
It's pretty. No, it's not. It's rough.
No,
it's not
bad.
that bad. It beats Fuecoco. Sorry.
No, it does
sorry.
not. No, it does
I'm sorry.
not.
He goes
kind of right.
He goes from cute and like no brain behind those eyes to I've got a fancy hat on my head and I'm
hunched
like,
over a frog with a little hat.
Which looks awful, by the way. And then the third one, the final one, he looks like a crocodile. He looks legit. But like I can't get past that second. And I'm like, this just looks awful. It's like there's like a meme or something where it takes like the three, and it's like I don't remember what it said. It was like cool, cute, and nice hat. Like that's literally what it is.
Listen, it's the fire Totodile line all over again. Like that Totodile line it's the same thing. It's an awkward evolution, but I love it because of that.
It gives me trauma of middle school, and I don't accept.
Listen, Quaxley is that little rich kid that all of us hated growing up. Okay, I'm
Oh,
just gonna
that's
put that
true.
out there. That and then it just evolves into Lord knows what. I no.
I really
No.
like Quaxley's final
I do
design.
too.
I think it's really good. I
Yeah,
like
it's good
because
posture.
well, I kind of love that character archetype just in general, that sort of posh, like rich kid archetype, that Miles Edgeworth kind of archetype. Like I love that. But then like yeah, he evolves into essentially Pave from Animal Crossing, always dancing. It's a peacock, you know, it's great.
Pretty much.
I don't like crocodiles, so I'm out with Fuecoco. And then Sprigatito, I actually think the middle evolution of Sprigatito is better than the final evolution. Like I actually really like the middle evolution, Florigato or whatever, and then the final one is just like too far. Like it's gets these big like
What are you
pointy
talking about?
mass. I'm like, yeah,
It's
I don't
cool.
like it.
It's a
got too
slime
sec-
mask.
It got
It's
too
a
sexy
ninja.
at the end. It's too sexy at the end.
Well, but-
Can't.
Too sexy. Oh
Too
yeah,
sexy.
it crossed the borderline for you.
You want to talk about too sexy? Go look at that crocodile one more time, okay? And tell me.
Oh goodness. This question went way out of hand. All right, we all agree. Sprigatito looks the best. Awesome. Sounds good. All right. Rybo asks, my question is, why haven't you named your Snorlax Rybo? It's clearly the most fitting name. I don't think you can get Snorlax in this game.
I haven't seen Snorlax in this game.
I
Yeah.
haven't either.
Don't
I
have
don't
one.
think so.
He
Sorry,
told
That's
me
why.
to name him Rybo if I come across a Snorlax, and
If
I
I
said, okay,
do,
bet. But I
yep.
haven't come across Snorlax at all.
Mhm.
That's unfortunate because Munchlax is pretty cool too.
We can
So-
probably
Yeah.
Google it, but like,
It's
impossible
impossible
to
to
know.
know.
There's no way to know.
It's okay. I really don't think there's. I'm betting there's not a Snorlax in this game, Rybo. But I will probably play Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and in that game, I will name
Are you-
my
are you
Snorlax Rybo.
Are you gonna play it on the Steam Deck?
Don't tell anyone. Anyways,
Nice.
nice. It's so easy.
Nice, it's so
Anyways,
easy.
Antix asks, now that most of us have likely been the story, or two of us, how much do you think you continue playing these games, especially considering their open world compared to previous games in the series? Do you see yourselves shiny hunting / play competitively with your friends, or just wait till the possible DLC releases next year before returning?
I'm gonna finish the game, and I think I'm actually for the very first time gonna go shiny hunting. I've never done it before,
Cool.
but like this game, I feel like for one, it's gonna be harder because you don't have the sound bite anymore as you
Mhm.
get closer. Like you have to be. I want a little bit of a challenge in that, even though I've
Yeah.
never done shiny hunting before. I still haven't come across any
I heard
shiny.
it's the easiest in this game compared to previous games. So
Is it?
I
it's a
haven't
good jump.
either.
I've
I
never
haven't
come
either.
across it.
My wife has found 3,
I found
and I'm just
one.
sitting there. I'm like, I was just looking at that.
I'm
Oh,
like
man.
looking at the what is it, deerling? I'm like, there's a pink one, and my husband's like, that's the spring one. I was like, damn it.
Ugh. Yeah, you can make like
I thought I had
sandwiches
it.
now. You can make sandwiches that boost your shiny encounter rate and
Yeah.
stuff
Herba
like that.
Mystica.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you have to get the Herba Mystica to do it. Yeah, for me, like I rolled credits on it, and for me, I'm like, I gotta move on to other stuff. If this was
Me
the
too.
only game that I
Yep.
played, then like yeah, there's a lot to do here. But I'm like, I gotta play other games, dude. Like I'll probably come back to it at some point, but at a certain point, yeah, I had to sort of pry myself away and just move on.
I just thought it
Yeah.
would be fun to stream and do it. Like once
Yeah.
I finish
for
the
sure.
story.
Mhm.
It's a
And
good
then
streaming
Great
game.
Yeah, because you can just chat and like look at the same time, and yeah, that's kind of what
Yeah.
I'm gonna do anyways.
There is, I will say, there are a couple of those. Again, I'm speaking vaguely, but like I said, you're introduced to new Pokemon all the way through to the very end. And
Mhm.
there's a very interesting new type of Pokemon that is introduced at the end of the game. And I really would like the shinies of those because it's pretty
They look
cool.
dope.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I don't do too much afterwards. I did a lot of like post content stuff, let's say with Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire,
Yeah,
Sun
there's
and
a lot
Moon
of it
had
in
a lot
those.
of
Mhm.
post content. There wasn't too much post content for this one
Mhm.
other than just like go to the terror rates and stuff like that. I think it's kind of essential for Pokemon to have these shiny hunting now and keep it more perpetual, more long lasting. So I'm glad it's there. I know a lot of it. I think they really leaned into the metagame of shiny hunting, and I'm glad they did because I think that worked out to their benefit. A lot of people love shiny hunting. I'm not a big shiny hunter per se. My story of shiny hunting is I think I've only encountered one shiny, and it was a shiny Venonat in silver version.
Oh,
And I
wow.
did not
Oh.
know it was a shiny version. I just thought, I was like, oh, this is
Just
weird
killed it.
glitch, and I just killed
Right.
it.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
The amount of times the words shiny and shiny hunting have been said in the past 3 minutes, like it's just like sitting in my head right now. But no, similarly, like I think when I finish it, I'm just gonna roll on. There's too many games,
Too many games,
and there's
dude.
just not enough time. Even now, like Crisis Core comes out,
I know.
Midnight Suns just came out. January and February don't slow down. So while I'd love to sink like a considerable amount of time and like try and hunt shinies, because again, similarly, I've caught maybe like one over the course of my Pokemon history. It'll probably be moving on to the next thing.
I
Yeah,
like to
sounds
say
good.
that my mind is a pigeon, but I also like to say now
Shiny
that
pigeon.
I'm part crow and I
shiny
need
pigeon.
to go look for all the shinies.
Shiny pigeon.
Yeah.
There you go. Speaking of shining, Blaze and I ask, and I think it sounds like not much into shiny hunting, but what is the maximum amount of time you devote to shiny hunting? And which shiny would you be most likely to hunt if you wanted to?
For me, Eevee, because I love the blue Sylveon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sylveon's great, man. Mine's a spoiler, I guess, but I'll say it vaguely. Iron Bundle is its name.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's the one that I really like. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Google's immediately. What is this?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but the deerling just caught my attention because there's just so many of them already, like varieties. But a lot of the Pokemon have different color varieties too, and that's also
Yeah.
been interesting to me to get like
Mhm.
the different normal color varieties
Mhm.
as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of different forms now. I think it's the Terran Sagetsu or something. It's like the little tiny fish
Oh, the
Pokemon
sushi
in this
one.
game. The
Yeah.
sushi one. They're different colors too. I thought I got a shiny one too. I was like, no, that's just a different form. I'm like, dang it.
It tricks
Um,
you.
it really tricks you.
There's one that looks like
I
tuna and one that looks like a Tamago like roll or whatever. It's pretty
mhm,
cool.
mhm. I love shiny Gardevoir. I think that
Oh.
is
Yes, dude. Beautiful.
a really dope shiny Pokemon. I also like shiny Mega Gengar. Super
Oh.
dope. Yeah,
The one that's
it's
white.
white.
Yeah.
Yeah, white
It's
with a
cool.
third
Oh.
eye.
I need it.
It's
Gimme.
I want it.
I'll be super down with that. But yeah, I don't do too much shiny hunting. We'll see. I got so many other. You guys know, I got like a line of games ready for me on the Steam Deck and the Switch, just to clear it out. But yeah, I think that's pretty much the end of this episode. Thank you guys for hopping in with me, for talking about Scarlet and Violet, especially this late at night. I appreciate you. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And why don't you guys, share what you want to share, like other plugs or whatever, what you got going. What about you, Matt? What's the first thing you want to share? Oh, you got a little orange thing going on.
I got
Oh,
my
you got a little
Charmander, my Pokemon Red.
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, no. Thank you, Garrett. This has been awesome. Hanging out, talking about all things Pokemon, and having the new crew here together was wonderful. You can find me obviously over on the PlayStation Drive, which is now on Mondays. So come hang out, and you can find me over on Twitter at burnout_Matt. So come talk PlayStation with us. We like it.
Nice.
Hmm?
Lachlan.
Hello. Well,
Hello.
hello.
Well, hello.
Well, hello. Yes, you can find me on YouTube at Lockleth or on Twitter at LocklethTWT. But also you can find me and Seth over here, I guess, at the Nintendo Drive here at
Yes.
Carpool Gaming. My fellow Gengar lover friend over here. So
It's
yeah,
true.
that's where you can find me.
Yeah. I guess you can also find me on the Nintendo Drive with Lockleth and Sean Capri. If y'all don't watch the video version of these, you really need to, because Lockleth and Matt are just slowly burying themselves in Pokemon merch
With
over
Pokemon stuff.
Yeah, over the course of this discussion. It's pretty good. Yeah, check us out, youtube.com/carpoolgaming. On Twitter, I am at $2hero. Obviously, plug the Patreon again, patreon.com/carpoolgaming. There's a bunch of awesome new merch. bit.ly/CPG merch is the place to go for that. Yeah, lots of cool stuff.
Oh my gosh, Matt has his red version in his mouth right now, listeners. Oh my gosh, and he has like this 30. Is that a 30S case? Oh no, it's a frame. It's an EV frame. That's so cool.
I'm worried he's gonna hurt himself.
Me too.
Most do.
You can find me on Twitter at Bland Explosion. You can also find me on the Nintendo Shack, part of the Play Some Video Games Podcast Network. This audio version won't go live by the time, but spoiler alert, Ryan's gonna be with me on Friday this week, and we're gonna just have a good time over in Shackland. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks guys for coming over, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The RPG Caves Mana is powered by patrons over at patreon.com/carpoolgaming, and we want to thank our ultimate producers, starting with Robby Bobby Miller, Trucker Sloth, Tony Baker from the Quest for Pixels podcast. Please subscribe to them over at youtube.com/questforpixels today. Dallas Ford, the co-host of The Blame Game. You can support Dallas over on YouTube and get those guys to 100 subs. Johnathan Brown, his new EP from PME called Gems is available now on Spotify and Apple Music. Lee DeVaro, the fearless leader of the Phoenix Overdrive Extra Life team. All the links for all these amazing ultimate producers are found in the show notes, and make sure to support them there. Our platinum producers, Marcus McCracken and RJ Kern, and our gold members, Anna, Cecily Carosa, Dallas Robbins, Drellish, Emily O'Kelly, Foolish Fuji, Jose Jimenez, Marcus O'Neill, Nagachaka, Skinny Matt, and the Snack Network. Thank you all for all of your support. And if you want to join on up, head on over to patreon.com/carpoolgaming and choose the tier that's right for you.